Here are the top stories for today, February 17, 2021. Malacanang studies the move to place the entire country under the modified general community quarantine in March. President Rodrigo Duterte grants amnesty to former rebels who have committed crimes in pursuit of their political beliefs. The palace maintains its stance that the president can terminate the visiting forces agreement with the U.S. at any time. And a strong display of faith amid COVID-19 as Catholics observe Ash Wednesday amid the pandemic. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang is studying the latest recommendation of the government's economic team to further reopen the economy, including the possible shifting to modified general community quarantine status on March 1. Stressing the need to address hunger and joblessness in the country, Acting Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Carl Chua also proposed the gradual easing of age restrictions and allow persons between 5 to 70 years of age out of their houses. He also proposed to expand public transportation from 50% to 75%, subject to the observance of proper health protocols.
Pinag-aaralan mabuti ng Pangulo ang rekomendasyon na ito. At ang sabi nga niya, nais niyang ito ay mapag-usapan sa susunod na cabinet meeting sa 22 ng buwan ito. Pero dahil ito nga po ay naging rekomendasyon na ng IATF, na pag-usapan na ng kanyang mga gabinete na nakaupo sa IATF, talagang ang presidente po ang nag-aaral kung tama na ba tayong magpunta sa MGCQ.
The financial sector is expected to get a sigh of relief from the impact of the pandemic as President Rodrigo Duterte has signed into law the Financial Institutions Strategic Transfer or FIST Act. It is among the Duterte administration's priority legislations to help the economy recover from the pandemic. The FIST Act, known as Republic Act 11523, allows banks and financial institutions to outsource the management of their non-performing assets and non-performing loans to asset management firms that are similar to special purpose vehicles. This will clean up their balance sheets and extend credit to more sectors in need. The new law is seen as an improved version of the SPV Act of 2002, which was enacted in response to the Asian financial crisis. The government remains on track on its target to acquire 170 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines from several suppliers. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the country will have enough vaccines to inoculate around 50 million to 70 million Filipinos this year.
Sang-ayon po kay Secretary Galvez ay yung ating target po na 170 na mga bakuna ay makukuha natin. 44 million po galing sa COVAX, 25 million galing sa Sinovac, 10 to 15 million galing po sa Gamaleya, 30 million ang galing po sa Novavax, 17 million ang galing po sa AstraZeneca, 20 million po ang galing sa Moderna, 15 million ang galing sa Pfizer, at 5 million po ang galing sa Johnson & Johnson. Bagamat naantala po yung pagdating ng Pfizer at ng AstraZeneca, kampante rin pa rin po tayo dahil meron po talagang formal na komunikasyon ang COVAX facility na makakarating sa buwan nito at least yung initial na 117,000 na Pfizer at yung panimula ng hanggang 5 milyong AstraZeneca. Samantalang, nakasulat na nga po, nakataga na po sa bato na pagdating po ng 23 ng buwan nito, darating din po ang Sinovac. Na hindi po totoo na nahuhuli na tayo sa ating pagbabakuna. Kasabayan lang po tayo ng buong daigdig na magsisimula pa lamang ng ating pagbabakuna.
Former rebels who have committed crimes in pursuit of their political beliefs are getting a chance towards a better life. This as President Rodrigo Duterte signed proclamations 1090, 1091, 1092, and 1093, granting amnesty to members of the Communist Movement, the Moro National Liberation Front, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, and the Revolutionaryong Partido ng Manggagawa ng Pilipinas, Revolutionary Proletarian Army, Alex Bongcayo Brigade. The grant of amnesty will allow former rebels to restore their civil or political rights suspended or lost by virtue of criminal conviction based on the proclamations. However, the amnesty granted shall not cover kidnap for ransom, massacre, rape, terrorism, and other crimes committed against chastity as defined in the amended revised Penal Code, crimes committed for personal ends, violation of Comprehensive Dangerous Act of 2002 or RA 9165, and grave violations of the Geneva Convention of 1949. Members of the mentioned rebel groups may apply for amnesty provided that they commit the crime before the issuance of the proclamations. The government is intensifying its crackdown against the alleged recruitment of the New People's Army targeting minors. PCOO Secretary Martin ANDANAR condemned the said recruitment activity as presented to him by the local media in Pagadian City. He said this child recruitment activity of the NPA only deprives children of their right to live in a healthy environment. ANDANAR, who is also the designated cabinet officer for regional development and security for Region 10, said the government has various programs for the youth, such as free education and free health care. He also assured that the efforts of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict will be felt in all conflict-affected and poverty-stricken areas across the country, including Zamboanga del Sur. Malacanang is not backing down on its stance that President Rodrigo Duterte can terminate the visiting forces agreement with the United States anytime. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque made this remark in response to Senator Panfilo Lacson, who said the termination of the treaty would need the Senate's nod. Roque clarified that PFA's role is to implement the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, which aims to boost the defense and security cooperation between the Philippines and the United States. The VFA is a 1998 military pact that allows U.S. troops who will participate in joint exercises with Filipino soldiers to visit the Philippines without visa and passport. President Duterte formally terminated the defense deal last year, but some senators sought clarification from the Supreme Court about their role in the cancellation of treaties.
Senator Lacson, hindi lang po binasa ng ating presidente ang saligang batas. Abogado pa po siya, pumasa po siyang bar.
Preemptive evacuations are held in Talisay, Batangas, as FIVOLCS noted tremor episodes within the vicinity of the Taal volcano. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or MDRRMC, said the preemptive measures are only being done for fish pen workers and families tending animals on the island. The Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, also evacuated at least 60 individuals, and the number may yet increase as the evacuation is still ongoing. Those evacuated were taken to the City Social Welfare and Development Office in Talisay, Batangas. The Anti-Corruption Mega Task Force, headed by the Department of Justice, logged over 200 complaints. Most of these complaints involved alleged violations of the anti-graft law, procurement law, Commission on Audit Rules, and social amelioration programs. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said of the 208 complaints, only 148 pertain to actual corruption cases, with 69 of these have been evaluated. He said there are also cases of overpricing, ghost projects, unfinished projects, kickbacks and commissions, bribery, extortion, smuggling, fake land titles, falsified free patents, and other fraudulent, corrupt, or illegal acts committed by public officials and private persons alike. 40 cases were referred to other member agencies of the task force for comment, further investigation, or case build-up, with one case to be filed with the Office of the Ombudsman. Still to come, Catholics observe Ash Wednesday amid the pandemic. And a monument in Baguio City honors the heroism of frontliners against COVID-19. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Catholics observe Ash Wednesday, which marks the start of the Lenten season. Marita Mawahe explains the essence of the occasion and how the pandemic has changed the way it is observed.
With the coronavirus disease pandemic in the middle of all of us, this year's observance of Ash Wednesday took a turn as priests and nuns sprinkled the ash on the head of the person, instead of the usual marking of the ash on one's forehead. Considered as one of the most important holy days in the Catholic Church's liturgical calendar, Ash Wednesday opens Lent, a season of fasting and prayer.
Pinapaalala po natin sa mga mananampalataya na tayo ay babalik din sa alabok. Nagmula tayo sa alabok at babalik din tayo sa alabok. Ito rin yung panawagan ng simbahan na magbagong buhay at sa mabuting balita sumampalataya.
Father Malihan, parish priest of the Santo Domingo Church in Quezon City, said Catholics 18 to 60 years old are encouraged to prepare themselves through fasting, almsgiving, and abstinence. He said these are the practices being done to cleanse oneself and prepare for the Paschal mystery. This is for 40 days or 6 weeks before the Paschal Triduum. To avoid close contact and mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Church decided to impose the Blessed Ash by sprinkling them in the head. But the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines said that blessed ashes may also be imposed on the forehead as the old ways, but using cotton balls. Meanwhile, because not everyone can already go out to physically attend the Holy Mass, Father Mandy said that they are giving out blessed ashes in small pouches for free.
Meron po akong sample dito nung ash na ibibigay namin. Yung mga gusto pong humingi na hindi makapunta ng simbahan, the head of the family ang siyang magsasagawa po nito. So sila na lang magbubudbud sa kanilang miyembro ng pamilya with the words, repent and believe in the gospel.
However, blessed ash should not be sold and are not magical and may not be used as amulets. For those who cannot go to the church, Father Mandy said that they can do their own ashes using dried leaves if dried palms are not available. He said that there are creative ways to feel closer to God, do good to your neighbor, and ask for forgiveness for sins committed. On Tuesday, a day before Ash Wednesday, the Quiapo Church burned the dried palms that will be used the following day. Monsignor Dean Coronel of the Quiapo Church said it is important for people to understand the essence of the activity.
Ang tawag din dito ay Shrove Tuesday. Ano yung Shrove Tuesday? Shrove mula sa absolve, yung pinapatawad tayo sa ating mga kasalanan. Kaya magbuni-muni tayo na tayo makasalanan at kailangan natin ng kaligtasan mula sa Diyos, no?
Monsignor Ding said that everyone must repent and turn their back on sins and strengthen their faith. He added that the special petition for this year is for the COVID-19 pandemic to end. For the Catholic faithful, the COVID-19 pandemic did not dampen their faith as they believe that this will also come to pass.
Hindi naman so far kasi pwede naman tayong magdasal every now and then. Kaya lang talagang dapat sincerity ang kailangan natin doon and faith talaga kung ano man nangyayari sa atin ngayon. Life must go on eh. Wala tayong magagawa. Nangyari na to eh. So, move on lang tayo. Lahat lagi nating isa-sacrifice and then lagi lang nating iisipin na kaya natin to.
Ano ka lang, you still have the faith in your heart para at least yung mga dumarating sa buhay ng tao naman, lahat yung pagsubok lang, di ba? So this one siguro, ano din natin to, malalampasan din natin soon. No? In Jesus' name, amen.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, Catholic faithfuls around the world are reminded of man's mortality, that we are dust, and to dust we shall return. Reporting from Santo Domingo Church, this is Marita Muaje for the PNA Newsroom.
More than 200 House lawmakers have expressed support for the Bayanihan to Arise as One Act, or the Bayanihan 3, to help the economy recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaker Lord Alan Velasco said a total of 224 House members have joined him either as principal authors or co-authors of House Bill 8628, which he filed earlier this month. Under the bill, a 420 billion peso fund shall be allocated for the COVID-19 response, as well as recovery interventions grounded on economic inclusivity and collective growth. The bill also states that each household member will receive 1,000 pesos regardless of their economic status. Each student and teacher will receive a 1,000 peso allowance, and every displaced worker will get 8,000 pesos. Velasco said the proposed law signifies the strong commitment of Congress to aid the executive department in addressing the problems the country is currently facing amid the pandemic. 3 suspected New People's Army rebels died in an encounter with government troops in the Agusan del Sur town of Talacogon. Mayor Francisco Garello, Civil Military Operations Officer of the Army's 402nd Infantry Brigade, said troopers under the 26th Infantry Battalion also seized high-power firearms, explosives, and ammunition. The troops clashed against around 7 members of the Guerrilla Front 88 of the CPP-NPA's North Central Mindanao Regional Committee. Battalion Commander Brigadier General Maurito Licudin meanwhile denounced the NPA for pestering the communities in the area. He urged the communist terrorists to stop using violence and follow the path of peace. The national government has allotted around 5.9 billion pesos this year for the poorest of the poor families in Region 12 or Soxargen that are covered by the 4Ps or the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. DSWD Region 12 Director Cesario Joel Espejo said the funds will cover the monthly cash grants until December of the program's over 240,000 household beneficiaries in the region. The new beneficiaries were among the households that qualified for the 4Ps initiative based on the results of the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction Survey. He assured that the assistance will be received by the beneficiaries as scheduled despite the continuing pandemic. He also assured that beneficiaries will get the assistance on time despite the pandemic. Espejo reiterated that the program is not a dole-out as the beneficiaries need to comply with its conditions to qualify for the grant. A monument in Baguio City pays tribute to the heroism of frontliners against COVID-19. Attorney Renan Diwas, chief of the City Environment and Parks Management Office, says the Golden Blood Monument was erected at the Rizal Park below the City Hall compound. He says the monument is a gift to the modern-day heroes for their sacrifices and dedication in fighting the dreaded virus. The Society of Outstanding Citizens of Baguio conceptualized the monument before the city's celebration of its 122nd charter anniversary in 2020. This was made in lieu of the annual search for the city's outstanding citizens, which was suspended due to quarantine restrictions. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez supports the recommendation of Acting NEDA Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua to place the entire country under modified general community quarantine next month. Lopez said it is about time to move to MGCQ after a year of lockdown. Metro Manila has been under GCQ status since June last year. Lopez said Metro Manila has a very weak recovery with employment and hunger recovery doing worse. He claimed the damages to malnutrition and other health and social issues will be irreversible. Lopez added that the country should continue gradual safe reopening of sectors and further relaxation to MGCQ as COVID-19 cases go down. Up next, the Education Department calls out a university in Cebu over the alleged illegal schooling of indigenous people's children. Meanwhile, local suppliers from northern Mindanao send live hogs to Metro Manila to boost its supply. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The Department of Education called out the University of San Carlos Talamban campus for illegally schooling several indigenous people's children under the supervision of so-called Lumad Bakwit school teachers. More on this from Chris Mundo.
The Department of Education in Central Visayas on Tuesday said the University of San Carlos Talamban campus has no permit to conduct blended learning classes for indigenous people's children from Mindanao. Salustiano Jimenez, DepEd 7 Regional Director, said the children from Davao del Norte and Sultan Kudarat would be considered as illegally enrolled if the USC could not present a permit to conduct such classes. Jimenez said the school has not provided DepEd 7 information about the Lumad Bakwit school that enrolled students who are not from Cebu and Central Visayas. He said the Lumad Bakwit school system is not acceptable for children who are still in the basic education level. Meanwhile, the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples challenged a priest at the USC Talamban campus to prove that they let the IP children in their custody talk to their parents from Talaingod, Davao del Norte through video calls. This as parents belonging to the Ata Manobo tribe belied the USC's claim that they consented to their children's travel to Cebu. NCIP Caraga Regional Director Marlon Bosantog said Father Rogelio Bagao, Superior of the Society of Divine Word Missionaries in Cebu, should show a Zoom record or any recording that would show the conversations while in the retreat house for the Lumad Bakwit School. On Monday, social workers rescued 19 IP children from Talaingod and Sultan Kudarat, reported having been illegally held at a retreat house of the USC. In a statement, priests running the USC claimed the children arrived in Cebu on March 11, 2020 to complete their modular schooling. The USC said Save Our Schools network assisted in the formation of Lumad Bakwit School to help IP communities continue their studies amid the threat of aerial bombings and shutdown of community-built schools. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Local suppliers from northern Mindanao have managed to send at least 580 live hogs to fill in supplies in Metro Manila markets. The Northern Mindanao Hog Raisers Association joined officials of the Department of Agriculture in sending of the hogs in the Cagayan de Oro City port on Monday. The hogs were expected to arrive today, February 17. DA10 Executive Director Cardine Collado said they provided transportation assistance to local hog raisers to stabilize local retail prices of pork in Metro Manila. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier issued an executive order mandating a price ceiling on select pork and chicken products in the National Capital Region. Metro Manila's pork supply used to come from regions 4A and 3 that were affected with African swine fever or ASF. A total of 103 BAGUIO youth received gift packs from the city government as part of relief efforts amid the pandemic. The BAGUIO beneficiaries are residents of Barangay Mambaling. Mayor Edgardo Labella on Tuesday recognized the donations the local government has received from private groups. Labella assured that all donations received will be given to the intended recipients. On Tuesday, the city's Social Welfare Office also distributed rice packs to solo parents in the mountain barangay of Pungol, Sibugay. Families who lost loved ones in the Marawi siege are set to receive financial assistance. The Office of Civil Defense is urging them to reach out to the agency and process their required documents to avail of the aid. Claire Gighe has the story.
The Office of Civil Defense Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or OCD BARM urged bereaved families of internally displaced persons who died due to Marawi siege to process required documents to avail financial assistance. Further, the said financial assistance is also provided to the next of kin of IDPs who died in evacuation centers and other medical or treatment facilities in 2017 to 2018.
Panawagan po namin doon sa hindi pa nakapag-submit ng dokumento, maaari po ninyo tumawag sa contact number po namin sa hotline ng TFBM Field Office sa Marawi City para po ma-check ang mga pangalan nyo doon at ano ang mga requirements na kulang po at ano yung mga 3 dokumento na dapat po ma-submit po ninyo.
IDPs claiming financial assistance are required to submit documents such as certification from the Marawi City Social Welfare and Development Office, affidavit of 2 disinterested persons to establish the relationship between the deceased and the claimant, and the death certificate issued by the Philippine Statistics Authority. Meanwhile, Gonzalez also shared that the agency faces challenges in reaching out with the relatives of the Marawi siege victims. OCD BARM coordinated with local government agencies and media to intensify its efforts in tracing the relatives of the deceased victims. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gighe of the Philippine Information Agency, Iligan City Information Center.
In sports, more Filipino boxers may make it to the Tokyo Olympics. This as the International Olympic Committee Boxing Task Force announced that an Olympic qualifier match for the Tokyo Games has been canceled. The Association of Boxing Alliances in the Philippines Secretary General Ed Picson said that because of time constraints and safety concerns, it was decided to forego the world qualifiers. ABAP President Ricky Vargas said this may benefit the Philippine delegation since some Filipino boxers are ranked highly among those who have not yet qualified. Vargas hopes to get at least 2 more boxers in Tokyo. Men's middleweight Yumir Felix Marshall and women's flyweight Irish Magno have so far qualified for the Olympics. The tournament was originally scheduled for May 2020 in Paris, France. 2 other uncompleted qualifiers, those of the Americas and Europe, will push through but had to be moved back to May and June respectively. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Malacanang studies the move to place the entire country under the modified general community quarantine in March. President Rodrigo Duterte grants amnesty to former rebels who have committed crimes in pursuit of their political beliefs. The palace maintains its stance that the president can terminate the visiting forces agreement with the U.S. at any time. And a strong display of faith amid COVID-19 as Catholics observe Ash Wednesday amid the pandemic. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.